Concept of diffraction from gratings. This is a first in a series of videos on diffraction gratings, and the intent of this lecture is just to give you an intuitive feel of what a diffraction grating is doing. We'll touch on some math, but that's going to be picked up on in later lectures. So this is just to get a feel of diffraction gratings. On this slide, we have a wave passing through a dielectric object. And what we can see is that the wave travels slower inside of that dielectric object, and it travels faster on the outside. So on the far side of the object, the part of the wavefront traveling through air is advanced, whereas the part of the wavefront that traveled to the object is slightly behind. And now notice we have this perturbed wavefront. So the object has perturbed or delayed the wavefront. Now we have essentially the same configuration here, but we have a periodic array of those same objects. And what you can see is the same thing happens to the wavefront, it just happens periodically now. And so the big thing to take from this picture, this animation, is that the field, an electromagnetic wave, when it passes through a periodic medium, that field takes on the same periodicity as the thing that is traveling through. Now, it just takes on the same period. It does not take on the same shape. If these dielectric cylinders were hearts, for example, the field would not necessarily look like hearts, but it would take on the same period as that array of hearts. So I'm showing here the period of our dielectric object is lambda x, and the period of the wavefront is now also lambda x. So this is a very useful observation. Now the next thing we're going to get into, when a wave travels through something that's periodic, the wavefront itself becomes periodic. Now here's the big aha for diffraction gratings. When the field is periodic, it's really like a sum of waves traveling in multiple directions. And we will call each of these diffraction orders. And they are discrete directions. There is not a smooth continuum of possible directions. There's only discrete directions. And we'll get into exactly why that is in this lecture. So this is an actual simulation. It's a technique called finite difference time domain. And we see a beam passing through this diffraction grating. And it looks kind of crazy on the far side, right underneath. But as the field travels even farther, what we begin to see is that the wave is traveling in these discrete directions that we call diffraction orders. And we might ask, well, what about in between? And really, that's just the interference of the plane waves in these discrete directions. And that interference is even worse when they're all overlapping right on the underside of this diffraction grating. We really can't see those multiple directions at all. But the farther we go away from this grating, the more clearly we can see that there are actually waves traveling in these discrete directions. Let's think about why there are only discrete directions allowed. Well, one, we want to explore all possible angles. So we're looking at a wavefront, and what we'll do is we will adjust that wavefront so that it's at different angles. But we also said that the wave takes on the same period as the thing that it's passing through. So these vertical dashed white lines, that's delineating the edges of the periods of the diffraction grating. So the field between these needs to look the same in each segment. And yet another thing that we have to satisfy is that the field has to be continuous across this whole thing. A field cannot have any discontinuities. So let's go ahead and throw in just an arbitrary angle. So it's the same angle everywhere. It's periodic. It looks the same along each period. However, we notice at the boundaries that the field is very discontinuous. This clearly is not an allowed direction. Now let's look at an angle that is an allowed direction. Here's one, and we see that it is continuous across these interfaces. It is also periodic. It looks the same in each of these periods. And of course, it's at an angle. And so that is an allowed direction. Now here's a slide where we're animating these fields and we're slowly changing the angles. We're experimenting. This is not a simulation. We're just experimenting of what angles are possible. And clearly there's a different refractive index material above and below this diffraction grating. The refractive index above is the lower refractive index. The wave is traveling faster and has a longer period, whereas below it has a higher refractive index, wave is traveling more slowly, and so the wave fronts become more compressed. And so we're just slowly experimenting of what happens with these angles. And what we see is only at certain discrete angles is that field continuous, and that's where I record a diffraction order. So these big arrows are telling us the experimental direction, and when the fields become continuous and satisfy all of our conditions, I will record that as a possible direction. And I'm doing that on the top and the bottom. One thing you'll notice, there are more diffraction orders on the bottom than the top. That is because there is a higher refractive index on the bottom than the top. So this is a really good animation. I will make this available on the website, and this is something that I recommend just staring at until you get it. It's a really nice animation. This is not something we'll talk about too much in this course, but there is this thing called a grating lobe. And people that work at microwave frequencies, radio frequencies, tend to talk about these diffraction orders as grating lobes. But the diffraction orders and grating lobes are essentially the same thing. The grating lobes are a little bit spread because when we're measuring signals, they're maybe a little bit more broadband or whatever. But grating lobes and diffraction orders, we're talking about the same thing. We will use diffraction order, not grating lobe. But if you read about subjects like frequency selective surfaces or array antennas, you'll hear these grating lobes discussed, and now you'll know what that means. Let's think about the field inside of a periodic structure. So first, we are going to make use of this grating vector. So this grating vector is the capital K. And it has a magnitude that's 2 pi divided by the period of the grating, and it's always in a direction that's perpendicular to the equiplanes, if you will. So it's always perpendicular to the fronts of your material properties. That's our grating vector. Why is it defined in this crazy way? Because we can calculate this sinusoidal function simply as cosine of k dot r. So in general, if we have a medium described by a periodic permittivity, we'll call that epsilon as a function of position r, it could have an average permittivity and then also some contrast on top of that. Now let's look at the field. So the field will have this plane wave term plus an envelope function. And it's this envelope function that really takes on the same period, same symmetry as the medium that it is in. So one thing we can loosely do is just take this expression for the permittivity function and plug it in for A. So now we have this amplitude that varies along with the grating that it's in. Let's multiply this out and see what happens. Well, we have our plane wave term that's multiplying this average refractive index, and we see we just get another plane wave term with potentially a slightly different amplitude. However, when the cosine multiplies this complex exponential, we get these sum and difference frequencies, or not even really frequencies, but it's a k ints minus capital K and a k ints plus K. And what we take away from that is when this wave traveled through this periodic medium, it split that wave into 3 discrete directions. One of them was the original direction, but these other 2 are the original direction plus or minus this grating vector. So a wave was split into 3 discrete directions. Let's look at this a slightly different way. Here we have this grating, this periodic medium, and there's this wave we'll call the incident wave. And it encounters a grating, which is defined by a grating vector with capital K. Well, just like we talked about on the previous slide, that is split into 3 discrete directions. And here I'm showing the directions. One is just K inch, that's the same direction as the original wave. And then these 2 others at plus or minus the grating vector. Well, now we have 3 waves traveling through a periodic medium. Each of those is split into 3 different waves. And so now we have, well, let's think at first, there's 9 possible waves, but what we're starting to see now are some redundant directions. We see that this was the original K inch minus K. When we added a K to it, we're back to K inch. Likewise over here, this direction was K inch plus K, and when we subtracted a capital K from it, we got another K inch. So we actually have redundant directions here. We'll also notice that this center beam is the same as this beam. So there's some redundant directions. But the point is, a single wave came in, split into 3. Each of those 3 split into 3. And then each of those 9 will split into 3. And then each of those will split into 3. And this just keeps going. And I've run out of room, so I have to stop drawing it here, but this diffraction would keep happening. And if we take into account all of the different redundant directions, we can draw a picture like this that just shows the final discrete directions. And we can summarize all of this mathematically and say all of the directions are K inch plus or minus some integer multiple of this grating vector. So this equation defines all of the possible directions for those diffraction orders. So m is any integer from minus infinity all the way up to positive infinity. And we will keep drawing grating diffraction this way, but drawing it this way sort of misses the physics of what's happening. In other words, a wave comes in, it diffracts into these 3 discrete waves. Each of those diffract, each of those diffract, and there's this crazy mixing of power between all these different directions. And it's actually quite complicated, and it gets into coupled mode theory and all that. We're not talking about that now. But that's it for this lecture. And the intent of this lecture was just to give you an intuitive feel of what is happening inside of a diffraction grating and why it is happening.